Hello, this is a brief overview of a tool called Reconstruct, which combines imagery, video, point cloud generated from imagery, or point clouds that could be uploaded from traditional tripod-based scanning, information models, and schedules. We're not going to talk about analytics on this presentation. We will talk about that later. So when you combine these things together on a single platform, this is what it can look like. You can see here's the imagery all loaded. Here are the videos processed from that imagery. So all we did was upload images, and then we processed and uploaded video. The video then is generated by Reconstruct into point clouds. We uploaded different types of model format, in this case 3D DWG, as well as Navisworks files, and even Revit files. So we've got a combination of things that we've uploaded. And if you wanted to upload, you can see here it uploads Navis bounded files, Navisworks cache files, zip files, Revit, IFC, or drawing DWG traditional format. In terms of schedule, we uploaded some TouchPlan I/O data, which was essentially exported in report mode TouchPlan as a CSV, similar to Excel. And in the past, we've also been using Microsoft project-generated schedule data. All right, so why would we combine all this in a single platform? What's the value in this? Well, traditionally, we looked at models, and we always had a gap on what was happening in the field. If sometimes you could get imagery from the field, you wish you could overlay or show what that meant to the modelers. It's bringing these two worlds closer together. So let's take a look at what that means. I'm opening up the viewer. To navigate in the viewer, you can move your mouse around. In this case, I'm going to look at just the firewater pump house, which is here on the north side of the building for learning purposes. So to orbit like this, I'm just holding down the left mouse key. If I want to pan, I hold down the roller ball. I can also pan by holding the right key down. Again, left key orbits, and if you look at where I'm orbiting about, it's that center green dot. If I wanted to orbit, let's say over here, about this dot, I can click and hold and center the green dot over here to hold. And if I want to pan, wherever I first click is where that green dot goes. I'm panning. So there's my pan point. And okay, so let's take a look at what could I do with combining schedule data as well as model data as well as point cloud data. Well, to do this, you can see here on the right I have a bunch of toggles. Right now I've got point cloud turned off, I've got BIM turned on, and I'm going to turn on my schedule. The schedule can be adjusted so that it's either using up more of the screen or less of the screen. And this data came from, as I said, TouchPlan I/O, and it's showing data that is typical in terms of listing the name of the data, the start, the end, the task logs, and then you could even adjust data after it's uploaded here quite easily. And I'm not going to do that because this is an actual live job. So I've turned on my schedule. The other thing I can do is go into BIM visualization and turn on trade location. By trade location, I see all my trades, and you need to do that if you're going to show 4D because the trades and the tasks are linked to the schedule items. To make this also more useful, I'm going to show how to hide surfaces because you want to see what's going on inside, which makes it more meaningful when you're doing a review of 4D on a fire pump house like this is. In this case, I'm holding my control key down and I'm selecting two surfaces. I'm going to right click and hit hide, current selection hide, and then it hides this. So you can kind of see this, looking at this more close up. All right, now there are two timelines. The timeline in orange of when we took images, by the way, images and point clouds are turned off right now, and the blue bar at the bottom, which when you drag it, is kind of that 4D that if you've used tools like Navisworks Timeliner or Synchro, you can build 4D. In fact, we're going to go back in time and even show you in the summer prior to when the building existed, we've got just pilings that are in the ground. So if I then want to go see what did that look like at that point in time, I can take my orange bar, click on this in July, turn on my images to see, hey, were pilings actually shot or in the ground at that time? These are spherical images. You can see that they were, at this point in time, framing pile caps and grade beams on top of the piling. If I wanted to go, let's say, back in time even more, before the grade beams are framed, let's go back here. I can see what it looked like by clicking on an image. Again, I'm loading all that imagery that was taken on the job site back in July 5th, 4th of July, after the 4th of July. And I'm going to click on one of these and you can see that all the pilings were in the ground. And let's say I want to go back even more in time and click and see even when the pilings were being sunk. So this is imagery as they sunk the piles, just showing you as an example of how you can go back in time. Here's the pilings that were being sunk. You could even go before when they were all standing in the air. So I'm going back and forth in time, and you may say to me, all right, okay, that shows me history. What if you want to forecast ahead of time before things are installed? Could you do that? I'm like, yes, you can do that. So I'm getting back here orientated. I'm going to now use my orange buttons, go forward in time. I'm going to turn off my images. And let's go, again, I'm by trade location, so I can go build. There's my grade beams going in, dragging my blue bar, and I'm going to go by right-clicking. Let's jump ahead to dates on when we shot. So remember, the orange bar is image capture dates. The blue bar is your 4D model, so I can build this thing as I go. And then if I choose to, I can go and look at imagery that's taken at that time inside the building. So now I'm going to turn on images, go inside the building. I'm looking inside the building. It's on October 16th. Looks like grade beams. Let's escape and go a little further along in time. And again, it may seem weird to grab one of these spheres when there's so many of them. Remember that it's a video capture, so it's taking these images at 30 frames a second. So I want to make sure I have one of them, and then if I double click or hover over it, I get the image that shows up. And now I'm looking at image reloaded. Pretty simple. All right. So let's review 4D scheduling. Here I've got the building. The schedule listed down below here. I'm going to move ahead in my schedule. We even show some of the piping being installed. And let's look at this underground piping. And then if I could also, if you look at, I'm moving the calendar and moving the schedule at the same time. We could even go in and show where piping and equipment gets installed. I can filter my schedule by dates, by tasks, or even the critical path. And then if I want to zero in and look at imagery that is current, I'm going to turn off my schedule. Say I want to go back and look at the full bin. Here's the full model with all the stuff in it. And I want to compare that with imagery that was shot. So I'm going back here to look at some imagery. See where my images are. Let's go and click on one of the images. And if it's hard to zoom back, sometimes it's better to take off the model or the turn things like the BIM model off, and you can see just imagery. And then the last thing I'll show is let's make a point cloud out of all this imagery. If I turn the point cloud on, you'll see it's generated a point cloud. Got to load it all. I'll turn off my imagery. There's the point cloud generated from the imagery. So to review, I've got point cloud imagery taken at different points in time, and I've got a 4D schedule that I can drag forward and back to look at what's going to happen before it happens. We see the value in this in 3 areas: tracking work put in place, tracking quality to see did you build it the way we thought, and then lastly it can be used for safety documentation, points of interest. In this case, at this point in time, we only had laser scanning, phase-based scanning that was shot here, and it was done in the tunnel. And you can see if I turn off my model, just look at the point cloud. Here's an actual point cloud generated from, this is laser scan data. You zoom in on this, it's actually pretty interesting. There looks like some tarps were over some of the equipment. If I turn on the model, let's get deep into this, see if this pipe that we shot on site is actually in the right spot. I'm going to turn on the model to show quality review. So here is point cloud of actual condition. Here's the modeled condition of what we supposed it to be. You may say to me, why, John, are these not aligned? Let's make this faded. I'm fading out the BIM model. And this alignment could either be by maybe we need to register the targets, or in fact it was modeled at a theoretical elevation and the actual elevation looks angled or pitched. So that would require a little bit more investigation. But you can do quality checking like that. Let's say I want to make a point of interest here to study this. I would actually then just create a point of interest. I'm going in here and create a point of interest, toggle a pin. I create a new one. Well, it's not really easy to find, but it just say create new. Pinpoint, let's pin it right here. And I want to generate, in this case, a name. Let's say this is an urgent request. We want to check what is going on. We're going to post a message, verify elevation of steam pipe in the tunnel. So now that I took that, I can also create a screenshot. I can click on once for a full screenshot and drag to crop. So I can crop that, let's say that area. I'm shooting it on November 7th, and that made me a screenshot. You may say, okay, where do these screenshots go? Well, it can save or discard. In this case, I just saved a little screenshot. Alright, so file storage, that's where I'm storing things. Let's say I also want, you may say, what's the difference between typing out interests or safety issues versus creating a viewpoint? A viewpoint would be if I'm wanting to share with the team a particular view I could say here steam tunnel view 700 to show what that looks like. Let's say I have another view at that point in time I want to see. This moves me back further out, looking at the whole steam tunnel. So I've got all these different views I can create and save. I can also then, let's say, go back in terms of time. I'm going to go earlier when they were digging the tunnel and look at what that looks like. Here you can see the tunnel has been closed with temporary heat and protection because they poured the walls. That's what that looked like at that point in time. I can highlight the models or unhighlight them. I can also see existing utilities that are modeled underneath that tunnel. So quality checking is one valuable way this can be used, as well as tracking work put in place. For tracking work put in place, it's a separate presentation that we'll show you with the Reporter app, and that is real intel from the field that feeds the reports on tracking work, and then that reads into a dashboard, and that will be our next thing that I'll show you. Thank you for watching this video.